Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm so glad you're joining us this evening on what is a very, very bright and sunshiny Friday evening. There are some benefits to the time change. We will begin together with these words. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We continue together. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat, Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. We continue with blessing and lighting the Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who house us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. And together we say, Amen. From Psalm 96. Sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai all the earth. Sing to Adonai, bless God's name, proclaim God's victory day after day. Tell of God's glory among the nations, God's wondrous deeds among all peoples. For Adonai is great and much acclaimed. God is held in awe by all divine beings. All the gods of the people are mere idols, but Adonai made the heavens. Glory and majesty are before God. Strength and splendor are in God's temple. And we welcome the Sabbath bride with the words of Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Yishmianu el miuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet beli tila, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lehuvenelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'mashavat tehila, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva ore, kumi uri, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai, I like nigla, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. We rise in body or spirit as we welcome the Sabbath bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha v'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela, lechadoti likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. Please feel free to say hello and Shabbat Shalom in the chat. It's always nice to know who's joining us. We continue together with Psalm 92. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, ale asur ve'ale navel, ale higayon bechinor. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'fo'olecha, b'ma'aseyatecha aranei, ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od amku machshevotecha. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. The Kaddish is marked by long strings of synonyms of praise. The rhythmic repetition of these words is meant to aid one in achieving a higher meditational state. Rabbi Judith Abrams, Zichron Livracha. We continue together with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach kirute bi'amlich malchute b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'vchayedecho beit Yisrael bagala u'vizman karib b'meru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivorach Le'olam L'omel Maya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudusha B'richu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru. Amen. As we prepare for the recitation of the Baruch Hu, we rise in body or spirit. And we use these words of Noah Aronson as our kavanah, as our intention, as we focus on our prayer. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yilalai, lai, lai, 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 yilalai, lai, lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yilalai, lai, lai, 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 yilalai, lai, lai. We continue in prayer together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv, Aravim. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue with the words of Shema, the watchword of our faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. But what is that hope in a God whose love is never simple? Our hope is the hope of Nachman. Our faith is the faith of Job. We trust, but not in a God of easy answers. We hope, but not in a God who intervenes to change life's course for us. The psalmist said it best long ago, blessed is the person who trusts in God. God is the object of his trust. All we seek of God is God. Such a faith is tested, to be sure, but is never disappointed. Rabbi Arthur Green. We continue with Micha Mocha. Yai lai lai yai lai lai la 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 lai yai lai 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 ya la 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 lai yai lai lai yai lai lai la 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 lai yai lai 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 ya la 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 lai Micha mocha ba'eli madonai Micha mocha nedar bakodesh Nora tehilot osei feleh Nora tehilot osei feleh Malchutecha ra'uvanecha Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze Elianu ve'amru Ze Elianu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. We continue to pray together with Hashivenu. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth, prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Join together in Vishamru. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim vet haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. As we prepare to rise in body or spirit for the tefillah, the Amidah, our central prayer, we take a moment to breathe deeply. As we release some of the tension of the week, we join together. Adonai sifatai tiftahu fia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer al Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav LaHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, U'Morid HaGashem. Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Meimid, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'nei Amanat Alachayot HaKol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, V'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yelucha Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. We continue with our blessing, our prayer on the holiness of Shabbat. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things in space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness of time. It is the day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Zichron Libracha. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who makes Shabbat holy. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. When anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, We look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'orecha levarecha b'yirah na'avod. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. Continue with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha livarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Ambarech et Amo Yisrael, Bashalom. Take a moment for silent prayer. The words on the screen are the words of your hearts. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri. Adonai tzuri ve'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri. Adonai tzuri ve'goali. Ose shalom imroma. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Our thoughts turn to those in our community, in our family, in our hearts and our minds who are in need of healing, of body, of mind, or of spirit. If there's someone you're thinking of and you'd like to share their name, please feel free to do so. We hold in our hearts and our prayers Al, Rania, Dennis, Hillary, Hannah, Rena, Susan, all those with COVID-19, and the Rodbard family. We add to those names Otis and Lynn. Rena, we hold all those named and unnamed who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit in our hearts and in our prayers. We join together. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We begin this week the book of Leviticus, Vayikra in Hebrew, meaning he spoke. Though often dismissed for its lengthy descriptions of sacrifices, the book of Leviticus is where a child's study is supposed to begin. Why Leviticus? Well, because of almost half of the 613 commandments, the 613 mitzvot, are found in Leviticus. Scholar Baruch Levine comments on Leviticus that, quote, our concern in reading Leviticus should be more than historical. It should be an effort to understand the religious needs that were met by these practices in ancient times, needs that we still confront today, and the religious ideas that were taught in the process. Our ancestors saw the sacrifices they made to God as recognition of a relationship between themselves and God. The destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE and the end of sacrificial worship was mourned for generations, even as the leadership shifted the people from sacrifices of animals, grains, and oil to the sacrifice of the heart, better known as prayer. Our prayer, our ritual, our traditions are powerful reminders of the relationship we desire with the Creator of all. Even those of us who are unsure of the existence of a creator find comfort in replicating the actions of our parents, grandparents, and ancestors. With the start of Passover just a week away, the first night is Saturday, the 27th, I cannot help but think about all the traditions I keep, because that is the way my mom taught me. For example, I'm an 8-day Passover observer in comparison to many Reform Jews in the diaspora who tend to follow the Israeli and biblical tradition of 7 days. Why is there disagreement over 7 or 8 days? Here is the best explanation I have found, with thanks to one of the authors over at reformjudaism.org for summarizing so succinctly. Back when the months of the Jewish calendar were determined by observations of the new crescent moon, eyewitnesses would bring their testimony to the rabbinical court in Jerusalem, and the court would sanctify the new month based on this testimony. Since a lunar month is about 29 and a half days, a Hebrew month, which has to have a whole number of days, can have either 29 or 30 days. So the court then had to get the word out to the rest of the Jewish world about which day had been declared the first of the month, so that everyone could observe the holidays on the same day. Originally, this was done by signal fires, as in Lord of the Rings, which transmitted the message rapidly. But then the Kuthians, a sect opposed to the rabbis, launched the first phishing scam and made signal fires on the wrong days to throw people off. Since this method of transmission was no longer secure, the rabbis started sending messengers to outlying Jewish communities to deliver the message in person. This was harder to forge, but much slower. Locations within 2 weeks' travel of Jerusalem, such as other cities in Israel, had no problem, since the holiday, Pesach, Passover, or Sukkot, began on the 15th of the month, so they would receive the message in time for the holiday. But faraway communities, such as Babylonia, modern Iraq, couldn't get the message in time and didn't know when the new month had begun, though they could narrow the possibilities to 2 days. So, to play it safe, they started observing each Yom Tov, each holiday, for 2 days, so that one of the days would be the correct date of the holiday, as determined back in Jerusalem. In the case of Pesach, in the case of Passover, this meant that Yom Tov, the holiday, was not only the first and seventh day, but now the first, second, seventh, and eighth days. So Pesach, Passover, became an 8-day holiday. Up to the present time, all Jewish streams in Israel, liberal, Orthodox, and secular, follow the Torah's calendar and observe each Yom Tov, each holiday, for 1 day, and Pesach for 7 days. But outside of Israel, the 2-day or 8-day custom stuck. In the 4th century, we switched over to a calendar that is based on mathematical computations rather than astronomical observations, so that the calendar can be computed anywhere in the world, and the original reason for the extra day no longer applied. But the Babylonian Talmud in Beit Sah 4b advises diaspora Jews, those living outside the land of Israel, to maintain minhag avotechem, which means the custom of your ancestors, and continue the practice of 2-day Yom Tov, 2-day holiday, in case the knowledge of how to calculate the calendar is forgotten someday. Fast forward to the year 1846. A group of European rabbis convened in Breslau to debate various reforms to Judaism. They concluded that, quote, the second days of the holidays have no longer any significance for our time according to our religious sources. Therefore, if any congregations abolish some or all of these second days, they are thoroughly justified in their act, unquote. These rabbis saw themselves as representing the entire Jewish people. But of course, Reform Judaism eventually became just one of several modern denominations. And within the Reform movement, 1-day Yom Tov, 1-day holidays became the standard practice, whether in Israel or anywhere else. Enough time has passed that this has become our own minhag avotenu, our own minhag of our ancestors. And as the writer of this particular piece says, they themselves are a 7th-generation Reformed Jew and are proud to inherit the tradition, in contrast to myself, who prefers 8 days. The other modern Jewish movements outside of Israel have taken different approaches. In the 1960s, the conservative movement ruled that individual rabbis were authorized to choose 1 day or 2 day Yom Tov for their communities. However, the vast majority of conservative congregations does recognize 2 days. The Reconstructionist movement also gives its congregations a choice, and most Reconstructionist congregations do 1 day. In the Orthodox world, 2 days are standard, with the exception of some Israeli expats who maintain their 1 day practice even outside Israel. So the answer is that in Israel, and for most Reformed Jews around the world, Passover is 7 days, but for many other Jews, including the ones who seem to print most calendars, which is the best joke in this piece, it is 8 days. For the most part, there is not much of a conflict for communities where people have different customs regarding 7 or 8 days. Though when the 7th day is Friday and we are trying to decide if we have matzah or challah, which we had to debate a few years ago, it does get a little complicated. But really, why share all of this information? I share it because I think it is important to recognize that a lot of study has gone into the various ways we celebrate our holidays. Recently, there have been some upsetting statements about Reformed Jews from politicians in Israel, and I believe it is my responsibility to give deeper understanding to our practices. We are not Jewish light because we are Reformed Jews. We are Reformed Jews because we believe in interpretation that acknowledges our lives as both Jews and citizens of the countries we call home. So whether you celebrate 7 or 8 days of Pesach, of Passover, I hope your celebration is joyous. Shabbat Shalom. We rise in body or spirit as we continue with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet grula liotzer bereshit. Shelo asanu kue haratzot, velo samanu kamishbechot adama. Shelo samchokenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam. Ve'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu notas shamayim ve'osed haaretz u'moshev yikaro b'shamayim imahol u'shchinatu zo begov meromim u'Eloheinu einod emet malkeinu efes ulato kakatuv betorato biadatayom vehashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim bashamayim imol ve'aretz mitachat einod. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river of understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nehemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. If you have names that you would like to add to our yard site list, please feel free to do so in the chat. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full, but as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. And we move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We especially remember the yard sites of Esther Askin, Arnold Barco, Sylvia Brown, Bessie Cohen, Dennis Dolan, Jennifer Ellig, Tilly Finman, Bunny Gaines-Summy, Maya Gardner, Anya Sophia Goldstein, Jessie Harris, Joan Perilous Heller, Edith Yeager, Max King, Sam S. King, Natalie Lincoln, Leon Lewis, Carol Muschio, Myron Reinheimer, Jenny Samler-Leader, Frances Sellen, Joan Siegel, Norman N. Smith, Betty Weintraub, and Gail Weiner. We continue together with the mourners Kaddish, Kaddish, Yatom, as we add to those names, Robert, Abel, Estela Mejia, Alejandro, Mercado, Jose. We rise in body or spirit. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayed chol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach le'olam ulomei amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, huyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. A few announcements. Shabbat morning services tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Link went out in today's email, followed by text study. We are taking a different approach to our text study, and we will be looking specifically at the stories of Elijah in preparation for Passover. So I hope many of you will join us. We generally have reached text study by about 11:15, though it is always up for debate exactly when we get there. There is religious school on Sunday. Also on Sunday at 2 p.m. is the bonfire and afikoman hunt. Social distancing, masks, outside, lots of space. We're co-sponsoring with Congregation of Moses. Information on how to register so that you can get the address of where we will be was in the emails this week. And can be found in Congregation Moses's information as well. We hope to see many of you there. Please do check our weekly email on Mondays as we try to front load it with lots of interesting things that are coming up. Services next week are standard 7 p.m. on Friday here on YouTube and 10 a.m. on Zoom. Passover does start next Saturday night, the 27th. We will be having our second night Seder on the 28th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. If you're interested in joining us, please do let us know through the form that's been shared. that is the way we will be sharing the Zoom login information, so that we know everyone who wants to join us. Also coming up, April 22nd is as book club, 7 p.m. on Zoom. Please do reach out to us or to Carrie specifically if you would like if you'd like to join. They're reading morality, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, Zichron Livracha's last book. So may his memory be for a blessing. And thank you to each one of you for joining me this evening in our celebration and in our service. It's very nice to have you with us. We're going to conclude with Adon Olam, a nice classic. I hope you'll join me. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivrach le'et nasa v'hefso kol azai melech shamo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh v'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni lahamshir lo lechachbira v'li reshit v'li tachlit v'lo haoz v'hamisra v'hu eli v'chai goali v'tzur chavli be'et sarah v'hu nisi umanos li menad kosi v'yom ekra v'yado avkid ruchi v'yet ishan v'yahira v'im ruchi gaviyati Adonai li v'lo ira. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend, and may we see health and happiness and joy for ourselves and our families and our community. Good night.